Great news came out of Portland, Oregon. Peaceful protest and standing your ground. What a concept. It actually works. And it worked in Portland, Oregon. If we go through the history of Red House in Mississippi and the Kinney family, we have a story that explains all of this up at malcontentnews.com. You can read the story, but I'll give you the 60 seconds of it here and now. They lived in that house for 65 years. They were subject to a predatory loan of $96,000. The house was foreclosed upon. It was sold off in auction in 2018. It was sold for $260,000. To put things in perspective, the lot next door to it is worth $10 million. Last Tuesday, Portland police came in, as Red House has been a rallying point for a couple of years now, a representation of gentrification, of homelessness, of inequity, and of Portland's dark history of being a very white-centric town, and a town that has a very dark history in how they have treated the Black and person of color population in particular. A dozen people were arrested on Tuesday, but the Portland police were pushed back by protesters who built a series of elaborate barricades over a several block area and then formed essentially a sit-in with the mission and the purpose to get the house back to the Kinneys. Ted Wheeler said he would not allow a chop to happen in his neighborhood, as we showed in the opening picture. It wasn't about creating a chop or creating an autonomous zone. It was about righting a wrong. And a GoFundMe was started. When we went on the air on Thursday, that GoFundMe was up to $198,000. Less than 3 hours later, they rolled over their goal. I watched it live with Ian on Concrete Reporting, and the cheers went up as they rolled over $260,000. By Friday, they were approaching $300,000, and the GoFundMe stopped. The city said, "We're sorry." Ted Wheeler and the city struck an agreement with the protesters over the weekend, and the outer barricades came down. But out of fear that the Chud,
cannibalistic, humanoid, underground dwellers,
may come to try and burn Red House down, and also because of a well-earned mistrust of the Portland Police Bureau, protesters have left the inner barricades and are continuing their vigil over Red House until the sale, back, and transfer and complete. And that's the other great part of this story. The small investor in all of this, who has also, in some respects, been wronged, because it turns out he is a small investor, not necessarily the evil, big, incorporated, we own everything Claglamo unit, but a small investor. His family was threatened. He actually had to move to San Diego. Yes, you see, we do tell the whole story here at the Malcontent Tango. Oh, I just used the old name. Anyway, the point to this is he has agreed, and not under duress at this point, but he has agreed to sell the property back and to essentially do the right thing. And one of the things that he had said, in a lesson that he's learned in this, is when buying a property for investment, it requires more due diligence to understand the story that is behind the story. Renee Rackety was down in Portland on Saturday night and Sunday, and Renee was granted permission to go behind the barricades on the outer ones as they were coming down, and she shot some video with permission. We want to make it very, very clear. Everybody who appears in these videos appears with their express permission. And with that, just as we gave you a look tonight on Chris Rojas, we're going to give you a look of behind the barricades at Red House.
Some clipper that they need to pull those out. Mic check. We gotta go up to the firehouse. It's not working. You know, you tell me done.
materials back to the red house. Right there.
And there we go. Renee, the other thing is we have a story that we posted last night up on malcontentnews.com, and that story highlights what happened on Red House and has a series of pictures that Renee, an outstanding photographer, that she took while she was down there. You can go up to malcontentnews.com and look at those stories. If you look at it on a mobile device, you may not necessarily see the photo gallery there. That is a limitation with Google AMP. And they're actually, in doing some research, there's really no good workaround for that particular problem.